Okay, you're gonna have to excuse the weird setup. You can see my lovely mic here. I'm going back and forth between looking at the screen, looking at the camera because I have it set up on my phone. But we're talking about Barnes & Noble and the Vanishing book listing. Because Barnes & Noble removed my book from its website. And I have potential reason to suspect it could possibly, allegedly, theoretically, be due to it not being published through Barnes & Noble Press. Hear me out. So, my book, Dark Pine Tales of Terror, was published through KDP, but using the expanded distribution option. And through the expanded distribution, my book got onto Barnes & Noble's website. Now, for the longest time, I have proudly said that. I've proudly said, while I don't know if it's sold in stores, I know it's available on Barnes & Noble's website, so you can order it there, as well as being sold on Amazon and other places. But I mean, as my own team, I like to do my due diligence and occasionally check up on the listings, and when someone recently asked me where they could find it at Barnes & Noble, I initially gave that answer of, I don't know if it's in store, but you can order it online. And just to double check, I went to the listing, and there was nothing. The website couldn't find the book. So I looked it up. I went to Google, typed it in. The listing shows up on Google as a search result, but when you click it, you can't find anything. So I tried a different browser, thinking maybe it's just something with Chrome. Same thing. So I contacted Barnes & Noble's Help Center. I filled out their little form, and they got back to me the other day. Keep in mind, today is the 13th of July, 2024. I published this book last year. It has been up on their website for not even a full year. Now, when Barnes & Noble got back to me, they basically said they couldn't help me because I didn't publish it through Barnes & Noble Press, and to contact KDP. So I did just that. I went into KDP, went to their help center. Now, KDP doesn't have an email option. I went to their chat option, and I asked, okay, is Barnes & Noble cutting ties with KDP's expanded distribution? Are they pushing their own self-publishing platform more? They said the book was still being this book was still being published and pushed through the expanded distribution. So the book's still out there, it's still being pushed. So it's not like it was this thing. So it has to be on Barnes & Noble's end. And that got me thinking of this book, my first book, published back in 2022. A simple poetry book, illustrated. I'm pretty sure I talked about it on this channel. But I published this through Lulu Publishing, another self-publishing platform that has global distribution, similar to expanded distribution on KDP. It just gives it a wide distribution for, like, say, libraries, other retailers, Barnes & Noble. Again, this was published in 2022. This has been on Barnes & Noble's website since, and up until I don't know when recently, because, again, out of curiosity, I looked it up. Same thing. The book is gone. The listing is gone. It can't find it. So, as of recording this, I have emailed Lulu to ask them something similar. Like, what's up? Is Barnes & Noble being removed from the global distribution? What's going on? Haven't heard back from them yet as of recording this bit. I'll probably film again later, or at some other point when they do eventually get back. But if it was just this book, I wouldn't be as suspicious. But it was both. That's the thing, if it was a sales thing, this one would make sense. This one has been up since 2022. This one, though, again, barely had a full year on the website. And this has actually sold a few copies, a handful of copies, both through Amazon and I think like a couple of sales through Barnes & Noble, if I remember correctly, because sometimes it shows like where it's from on KDP. But no one's flagged the books, as far as I'm aware. I am a small author, a small creator, but it does get me wondering if anyone else, like any other indie authors, so if any indie authors who are self-published through, say, KDP, Draft to Digital, Lulu, any of those, check your Barnes & Noble listings, because they might be gone. Because I'm curious if this is Barnes & Noble trying to push people to use their publishing platform, because they do have Barnes & Noble Press that's been around for a while as well. But I do wonder if this is them trying to push people to self-publish through them rather than through all of these other platforms. But if that's the case, this is very disheartening. Because, again, like, even with this one, my very first book, I was so excited to say you could find this on Barnes & Noble's website. I was more than excited to say you could find this there. And especially this one, since it's my first, like, real, like, book-sized book. It's a collection of short stories. I was more than happy to say you could find it there. And now I can't. Now, I don't know if, again, I don't know if this is a thing. I don't know if it's a sales thing. They wouldn't tell me anything after I sent that email. Because, again, they said they couldn't. They said they couldn't help me because it wasn't through Barnes & Noble Press. So despite the fact that these wide distribution options for these platforms distributes to Barnes & Noble, they couldn't tell me anything except contact the different platforms. Contact the different publishers. Which is kind of funny considering when I did the chat with KDP, I was told in the discussion to contact Barnes & Noble, and when I explained what Barnes & Noble told me to do, they said they would take it up with their internal team, and I'm very curious to see what's actually going on here. I don't think I'm going to find out, but if anyone else is experiencing something similar, please leave a comment below. Make your own videos talking about this. Because as a smaller author, as an indie author, as a self-publishing author, trying to grow as an author to the point where I can buy my own ISBNs, where I can possibly create my own publishing house, or even maybe get an agent at some point to then become traditionally published. Because I kind of had to jump into this because I'm kind of in a tough spot. Since I started writing this out of desperation. It's called Poems for Pennies for a reason. I wasn't sure where my job would be, and then I ended up being ghosted out of that job in the middle of writing it. Yeah, no, I jumped into this out of desperation. I don't have the luxury of waiting for an agent or to be picked up by an agency. So I do what I can and with what I can afford to do. And Barnes & Noble is literally one of the biggest book retailers out there, next to Amazon. So again, I was very proud to say you could find this there, even if it was only online. And now I can't. And if they truly are pushing their platform to self-publish and removing any other self-published books from their site because Barnes & Noble Press wasn't used, that doesn't feel right or good, and it's making me feel a little less interested in potentially getting this back in store in any form. So, to any other indie authors and self-published authors, check your listings. Tell me in the comments below if they're still there. If you use Ingram, please check your listings and tell me what's going on, because I know, at least from what I've heard, Ingram and Barnes & Noble Press use the same printer, so I don't know if maybe Ingram has a bit more leeway since they have that connection, and Ingram is typically the bigger choice or the more popular choice for self-publishing. Just leave a comment. Tell me if this has happened to you. Tell me if you're on the Barnes & Noble side of things and you have an inkling of what's going on. Please tell me. I would love to know. Because I would hate to I would hate to see not just myself, but other indie authors and smaller authors that are trying to grow and do something we love be pushed out of a potential space where a lot of people get their books and sort of being treated as not as important because we don't use Barnes & Noble Press.